Hang in there, Greg. It's been a flat day.
I'm there.
We're doing well. This is going to make sense at some point. Your patience in me is going to work. Just believe. Problem is, you might get famous. That's just
you're left in the fucking rear vision mirror.
Yeah, old Greg. By association.
Yeah.
Do you know the person who wrote this book?
No, I thought that was Greg. He's the one that has all the intelligence. Ryan just sits there reading stuff.
What the hell did he write about?
Just swears a lot, really. All right, camera live. Cool. Yeah. I'll give you, all the listeners here listening, I'll give you 3 quick guesses on what this quick thing is about.
Couldn't be money.
Nah, I wouldn't dare, mate. Yeah,
Money.
We're here to talk about yoga and Greg's new regime. How's it going?
I did do some yoga lessons once.
Get off it.
I did 9 of them. The 10th one, I didn't survive because the 9th one, I felt really uncomfortable because you had to sort of do headstands, and it just didn't work for me. Didn't work for me. I really admire some of these people who can do some of these contortions and get themselves. It was amazing, but it was really quite difficult and a little bit stressful.
Well,
and then standing my head was frightening. I just said, no, I can't do this.
Damn. Well, if you
Back to the weights. I like the weights.
And the mirror.
Mirror?
No,
I'm not a mirror man. What do you suggest?
No, I wouldn't suggest that.
Oh,
the only thing I ask for the listeners' enjoyment, if you do ever attempt the headstand, record it. That would be a great TikTok.
It's not good. It's quite unnerving.
It is. Fiona actually managed it. Yeah. It was a milestone for her. 6 times a week she does yoga. Fiona's our director of first impressions for people that aren't aware.
And yoga master.
Yeah. So every time we come in, we bow. Anyway, we're not here for that, people. We're here for quickfire finance.
We are. It's all about money.
It is all about money, not Greg stacking it when he tries to go a headstand. Okay, so we got a question. It's a little bit long, but important to know. I am 72 years of age and have a KiwiSaver account that I took out about 4 years ago and contributed to, God, there are too many T's there, mate, for a few years and then ignored. It's been inactive ever since. Okay, that's not me. Opted for the aggressive growth fund, so she thinks it's in the aggressive growth fund, or he. I have nearly 1 million sitting in the bank at some ridiculous interest rate, maybe 1% or something. Basically, I am financially lazy and irresponsible. Well, fair enough. This COVID-19 situation and all the speak about security of investments, falling interest rates, stock market free fall, etc., has awakened a modicum of interest. What's modicum?
Small.
A modicum of interest in what to do with my million. So you may be financially irresponsible, but my vocab is equally on that level. That's just me reading that in my head. I received an online report from my KiwiSaver provider a while back and note there was a rapid rise after 2 or 3 month fall. So after that long-winded introduction, my questions are, can I drop, say, 700,000 or 800,000 into my KiwiSaver account? That's scary. If I did so, can I withdraw some or all of it whenever I like, together with whatever increases it has generated, or decreases, of course? Yeah, did that make sense?
Kind of right. I think you got there in the end.
Yeah, struggle.
I don't know who writes these questions, or are they real, or is there a question writer? I know we picked these up out of NZ Herald, so someone's written in there, but is there someone in the back room writing all this? All these 70-year-olds have got $1 million or $1.5 million in the bank.
Yeah.
How come I can never seem to find them? Like needles in a haystack.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that if you've got $6 million in assets in this country, you're in the top 1%.
Oh, easily.
So someone like this would have to be getting close to that if they lived in Auckland by the time you've got a home and car and branch, all the other bits and pieces, furniture. But it makes you wonder where people come from. Now, the bit that's strange with this one, I didn't think 4 years ago when they were 68, you could go into Kiwi saving because this is something that's really only come in over the last year, a couple of years, I think. I might be wrong. But what this person's really saying is, on the one hand, I'm financially irresponsible. Well, having 1 million in the bank's not really being
done well.
Irresponsible.
Yeah.
It is 1 million, isn't it? Not 1.5.
Oh, it's one something.
One something. That's a reasonable sum of money. In fact, it's a lot of money. You know, when you think that 65% or more of New Zealanders who are at the retirement age of 65 plus basically have nothing more to live on than New Zealand super. Some of those, of course, will own their own home, but many of them will, in fact, be renting and therefore reliant on some sort of rental subsidy from income support. So this person's in the top, 5 or 10%.
Yeah, they don't want
so that's hardly being financially irresponsible. But again, we don't know where the money's come from. It might be one of these inherited arrangements, so that's fine. If you're thinking about leaving your children or grandchildren a great sum of money, can I suggest you give them a quick course in financial literacy, because they might convert that much bigger sum of money to a much smaller sum of money. That's where that modicum comes from.
Yeah.
I had $1 million, now I've got 10,000. That's a modicum, right? 10,000.
Okay.
So the rules of investment, as opposed to speculation, is that you make money by not losing it. And to not lose it, you need to go through a process, and that's why you need advice. And the process will take you and look at your goals and objectives, look at your resources, consider the appropriate structure of any investment, consider the appropriate investment strategy, and then look at where the money should go. That's a process, and everyone should go through that process if they're looking to invest. If you're looking to speculate, well, there's a racetrack down the road, and you might get really lucky, and, if you put all that money into lotto, you might really do well, or you could lose the whole lot. Clearly, this person doesn't want to lose the whole lot. What they want to do is to see their money actually either return a better rate, which is fine, or what really they should be looking at is how this money can work for them. At 72, you're no longer generally employed, so you're not working for money. If you've got $1 million, you want your money to work for you. So how much can that money generate for you? In my view, at 72, you could quite comfortably draw $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year, eating the return and some of the capital, and the money will last 25 to 30 years. And that's even if you inflation adjust the drawing. It'll be more 30 if you don't. It'll be more 25 if you do. Generally what I've found, though, is people don't tend to inflation adjust their cash flow when they're in retirement. They just find that they don't need quite so much money. You're not buying as many clothes. You're not doing a lot of the, what you'd call more expensive activities that you might have done when you were a bit younger. So you don't quite need as much money. You'd like to have it, but you don't really need it. So in this instance here, this person, if they're single, would be getting, if they took our advice, $60,000 a year, $5,000 a month. On top of that, they'd be getting New Zealand super. That would be a single person, another $22,000. They can make it all tax effective because you can use the pie arrangement, so they could probably still stay on a rate of 17.5%. So it can be a very cost effective and tax effective way of investing. And they can have that cash flow coming through so that they can really enjoy their remaining years. And hopefully they've got 15 to 20 of those years left to enjoy life, not to worry, and just get on with things.
Yeah.
So it's not about being irresponsible. It's about actually not getting advice. And I've often wondered, why do people not get advice? And I suspect it's that New Zealand tradition of DIY, do it yourself. It may be our Scottish or inherited or British ancestry, which says that you don't pay someone to do something, you do it yourself. Well, guess what? I bet if you had an electrical fault in your house, you wouldn't go and do the electrical work yourself. I wouldn't, because I'd end up as a black mess in the corner. It's dangerous stuff. You get an electrician to do electrical work. Probably a good idea to get a plumber to do the plumbing work, which you might end up drowning.
Yeah.
Or
free shower.
Free shower. But I don't think it'd be a shower, would it?
No, I wouldn't.
I think it'd be worse than that.
Exfoliation.
It'd be a problem. So when it comes to things like money, people think they understand, but clearly these questions show that they don't understand, and they should go and get proper professional advice, and they should be prepared to pay for it, because basically you get what you pay for, don't you? And I think one of the issues I worry about with KiwiSaver, which I think is a very cost-effective way of investing money, it gives you diversification across asset classes. You can diversify across different fund managers, different organisations or people with expertise, in this computer age, it's quite seamless in respect of changing to meet your circumstances, which for someone who's 72 might be a balanced portfolio, not a growth portfolio.
No, it's highly aggressive.
A balanced portfolio that might over time become more defensive to become in 10, 15 years a conservative portfolio. If you're 95, of course, I would argue that you might as well have all your money in the bank, because why would you take any risk? At 95, you probably don't even buy green bananas. You're risk averse. But when you're 72 and you might have another 15 to 20 years to go, your concern is about inflation.
Yeah.
So what you need to think about is, how do I protect myself for rises in the cost of living? And that's why you have a diversified, balanced portfolio. But this thing about doing it yourself, this New Zealand attitude, is going to cause people to come unstuck. I know that all the people who don't actually work in this business for a living but give advice, either in newspapers and books, will say, look, the most cost-effective way of doing things is the way to do it. But, they've probably never had a client, because that means you're not going to get any advice, because you're not going to pay for it. And that's why people fall into these bear traps. If you pay for the advice, you'll get advice that's fit for the purpose, and it'll give you peace of mind, and you'll be able to enjoy doing all the activities, support the people that you want to support without stress or worry. But you're going to need to pay for someone to do it. Just as I said, going back to the analogy, you don't expect someone to turn up at your place and do electrical work for free. Funny enough, in the financial services industry, there is a reluctance to pay a fee, but people have no problems paying fees to lawyers and accountants. And, they often grumble about it, but if you don't get a proper accounting or legal advice, the costs are far greater.
True.
And probably more visible in business, or when you're doing your estate management type arrangements. I was thinking about this the other day, and in fact, and a person that I came across years ago didn't think it was worth having a will. It was a second marriage. Sadly, he died, and in fact, as a result of that, not having a will, and he had remarried, that he effectively disinherited his children, because all the money went to the second wife, even though he should have known, I knew, that the assets had actually come from the first wife. I mean, she'll be haunting him if there's a. If that's the way it's going, because that was an avoidable consequence. Had he taken legal advice, he would have avoided that. In fact, even in the old days, estate duty, which we don't have now, was an avoidable cost. If you went to a lawyer and got advice and they gave you the right structures, you could avoid estate duty tax. But people were too scared to spend the money and paid the penalty. This person here and some of the other questions we've had in the past where people have made mistakes, often they've made mistakes because they haven't been prepared to spend some money to get sound, sane, sensible advice. And it's out there.
Yeah.
Ryan will tell you where to go to get it.
Well, it's the old saying, the only thing higher than a cost of professional is hiring an amateur. And you just look at that. A lot of people are so worried about trying to get a little bit more percentage of return, 3 or 4%, and lose $1 million. So, but if there's anyone out there that's not in the 1%, we'd love to include that as well. So send us an email at ryan@oneplan.co.nz and start your own podcast and hit up Jordan if you don't know how to do it. So thanks, guys.